Sorry, is the Watershed manager for the town of Bluffton. And Kim has been a part of the historic Bluffton Arts and Seafood Festival almost since its inception. So Monday night with the Whiteout Tour. After that, we all went back to the Tumors Family Seafood Restaurant, and Kim and Al gave their presentations, and they were brilliant, and the people loved it. So with that, Kim is going to give her watershed plan with the town of Bluffton, that presentation right now. Kim Jones.
Thank you. If at any point in time you tell me you can't hear me, please speak up. But I'm pretty sure you probably can in the back. Yes? Okay. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm so thankful, Mary, to have the opportunity to share a little bit more about what the town of Bluffton is doing to help protect our water quality that we all enjoy, and you all are celebrating today and this entire week with Arts and Seafood Festival. I am the Watershed Management Division Manager, as well as serving as the interim director of engineering for the town of Bluffton. But I have a fabulous team of people that I work with, and one of them is Beth Lewis, who is my water quality program administrator. I know I only have 20 minutes. I talk fast because I got a lot to get through, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and jump right in. I know Chris spoke with y'all last week, our new assistant town manager, and I don't want to probably rehash what he's done, but bring it back to the forefront of your mind of what the town of Bluffton has as a vision and a mission you can read. But what I really want to focus on are our strategic focus areas, especially as we look at affordable workforce housing, community quality of life, economic growth, fiscal sustainability, infrastructure, May River and surrounding rivers and watersheds, and town organization. Not in order of priority, but in alphabetical order. They're all equally important. Now, I have a little bit of a slant in that I focus and have focused for nearly the last 15 years, 14 and a half years as my time with the town, on the May River and surrounding rivers and watersheds. I dare say, without that, you got none of the rest of it, right? Because if we don't have what we are all celebrating this week, what does the rest of it mean? Now, this is the best group for me to ask this question to, because when I asked it on Monday night to 3 different groups of people, I had very low participation. How many people are born and raised South Carolinians in this room? Wow, I thought there would be more. That was a little shocking. It's probably going to leave it a little bit more less shocking now when I ask this question. How many people are born and raised Bluftonians, Hilton Head? Yeah. Okay, so now then I am going to say, brethren, look, I didn't raise my hand either. Believe it or not, I'm from Northwest PA. And I will venture to say that probably all of you, just like me, visited here at one point in time, whether it was Hilton Head, Bluffton, something like that, and you liked it, right? Yeah. And then you decided to do what? Okay. So let's just keep that in the back of our mind as we move forward with the challenges we're facing as a quickly growing town and municipality, a limited services municipality. I'm sure Chris hit on that as well. All right, first let's put ourselves in a place. We sit in, I'm too short, darn it. We sit, normally I have a projector and I can cast a shadow, and so I can't quite do that. So we sit, and I know I'm off camera, Dave, I'm sorry. We sit, of course, just north of Savannah, Georgia, right in the crux of that tilted L shape from Cape Hatteras down to Cape Canaveral. That feature, that geologic feature, and geographically where we sit, is called the South Atlantic Bight. B-I-G-H-T, not B-I-T-E, take a bite out of crime. I'm showing my age with my breath. What's important about that is that 120-degree angle creates a natural funnel. So as high tide is coming in, it pushes it right into our area. We have some of the highest tidal fluctuations of the entire southeast coast, just a little bit higher perhaps than Georgia, because they're a little bit farther south of us. I am 5 foot because I've got a half-inch heel on. I'm 5 foot tall. On average, we have a 7.5 foot daily fluctuation in tides. Get us our spring tides, new moon, full moon. We're going to jump upwards of 8.5 feet to 9. Give us a king tide now. and we're going to have upwards of a 10-foot tidal amplitude. That is 2 of me between high tide and low tide daily. That is phenomenally important because when we look where we sit in our watershed, our coastal plain watershed, which means every drop of water in this really mustardy color, it's not a great color, but anyway, in this entire area is going to work its way to a receiving water body, a river, and its way to the ocean. This nasty little blip here, it's not very representative, is Hilton Head, so we're up here in the May River. What that means is we cannot blame any pollution challenges we have on anybody upstream. We can't say it's Spartansburg or Greenville. We can't say it's Myrtle Beach. They're in different watersheds. Coastal plain is not tied to any upstream watershed, which also means we don't have any fresh water of natural large amounts coming into our system. We are extremely, extremely salty water. We're just a finger of the ocean poking into the land. So, moving and honing in a little bit closer into our area, here's Hilton Head down here in the corner, DeFusty. Here's the May River, the heart of the Low Country. The May River is not a river, it's a tidal estuary embayment. As I just said, it's a finger of the ocean poking into the lake, fed solely by the tides. While we talk, darn it, I'm short. While we talk, no, that's not my color. You can tell physics was not my thing. While we talk about the headwaters of the May River, for those of us from other places, I will dare to say the Northeast and the Midwest, for the majority of us, we are taught the headwaters is where a river begins. And it's not that everybody isn't taught that, but we're used to seeing our rivers being that way. Any pollutant that gets into the headwaters, the most environmentally sensitive area of a river, is going to wash downstream, except for when you're a bathtub. When that pollutant gets into the headwaters, still the most environmentally sensitive area of the May River, all it does is slosh back and forth with the tides. And from the research that has been done on the May River, we know it takes upwards of 60 days for any pollutant in the headwaters of the river to make it to the mouth of the river, where it has its confluence with Calabogie Sound, comes around and joins in with the Atlantic Ocean. So a couple other important things here. This dash line, the May River watershed. Again, any drop of water that's inside that dash line eventually works its way to the May River. Whether it goes through a stormwater treatment pond, aka lagoon, or a premium lot, it is a stormwater best management practice. That's what it's there for, to capture and treat stormwater runoff from your yards, our roads, our rooftops, for those of us who all moved here, right? We created this in our moving here. And our stormwater ponds capture that and hopefully knock down the pollutants in that stormwater runoff before they reach the May River. What is in the red is the historic district of Bluffton, right? Founded in 1825, incorporated in 1852. It did not substantially grow for over 150 years until the there are minor annexations, until the large annexation of Palmetto Bluff on the south side of the river. And today we went from 1 square mile to approximately 54 square miles. We're right around there still. And as you look at the jurisdiction of Bluffton in light green, you can see the May River is our literal and figurative backbone. It is what our anchor is for our community and our identity and culture. All the white that you see, unincorporated Beaufort County donut holes, right? And if you're not familiar with the annexation laws, you should know that if we could annex them into the town of Bluffton, we would, and we would have a closed network. But currently we share jurisdiction with the county. So, May River, y'all know this. Why is it important? It carries an outstanding resource waters designation from the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. And the reason for that is because it is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. The aesthetics, the natural resources that are there, and the unique behaviors we exhibit. These are not dead, stranded dolphins, right? These are strand feeding dolphins. They're very much alive. But it's a unique behavior to our area. We have the economic impacts, both direct and indirect, the culture and the history, with the longest continuously operated hand-shucking oyster facility in the state of South Carolina, known as the Bluffton Oyster Company, where we were on Monday night for our lecture. Oysters still harvested by hand today as they were all the way back to actually Paleo Native Americans, because if you've ever been out in that bluff mud, you know you can't get equipment out there, it'll sink. And unfortunately, plenty of oystermen has died out there if they were by themselves, got stuck in the mud, and the tide rolled back in. It's a dangerous operation. But we do know we have regionally, economically important oysters that are shipped out of state and across state lines, and we'll get to that in a second because it's important. The other thing that I really want to drive home, and then I've really got to speed up, believe it or not, is the importance of tourism to our area. Again, when we just laid the groundwork of how many of us visited and then moved here, we are not alone. And we are not alone throughout the entire United States coastal area. So as far as tourism driving revenue, you can see in congressional districts 1 in 7, so we're talking Horry County, right? We're talking Myrtle Beach, we're talking Charleston County, and we're talking Beaufort County with Hilton Head Island. 3 counties, coastal counties, generate approximately 40% of the entire state revenue, 40% of the payroll, and 40% of the jobs related to HRT, hotel restaurant tourism. It is a huge driver. And why are people coming here? Because it's gorgeous, right? And the opportunities that are afforded to us when we come to visit a place like this. And then, like so many of us in this room, we come here and then we don't leave. Or we come and we come back permanently. That is seen along every coastal plain or coastal state area in the United States, and actually worldwide. This is a really busy infographic. I recognize this. This is based on 2010 census data from NOAA. I'm really curious to see what the 2020 data show us. But the takeaway messages are, really, all of this translates down into here. In coastal shoreline counties and coastal watershed counties, so we're talking Hilton Head and Bluffton, we have 4 times the density of people living within a coastal shoreline county. And if you bring that 50 miles inland to coastal watershed counties, we have at least 4 times the density of people per square mile living here and making an impact on our natural resources than on the interior states. Start to think about that. And these are the challenges we're facing, not just Bluffton, not Beaufort County, not South Carolina. Every coastal state is facing this. What does that look like in Bluffton? These I'm going to blow through. Y'all know these, all right? So everything in color is future land use. That's Bluffton. All the rest of it is Beaufort County. I need to update this. We went from 1 mile to 54 square miles in 10 years. We had a 1,000% increase in population and a 1,000% increase in homes. That means impervious surface. Water can't get through it. It runs off when we have stormwater. All right, so today our working population is over 30,000. We have enough homes platted for a population, I think, of 75,000 with development agreements. What does that look like on the land? Again, the red is the May River watershed boundary. The black is the May River. You can really see the nice heart shape. This is going back to 99. Obviously, green is fields. These few little black marks that you see are the limited stormwater ponds that were available at that time, servicing areas. By the time we jump forward 10 years to 2019, this is what it looks like. We moved here, development supplied what we needed, which were roadways infrastructure, schools, hospitals, medical, all the ancillary services we require along with our residences. So we see the conversion of land use from really agricultural and timbering and pine plantation into a lot of rooftops and roadways and a lot of stormwater ponds. Notice all the black that you see there. Every pond in the coastal plain is human-made. And again, coming from Horry County all the way down to us, there are over 22,000 ponds in the coastal plain of South Carolina. Not one of them is natural. Every single one of them is hand-dug. We're still trying to, from a scientific point of view, research point of view, understand the impact that those are having on our ecology. When you change land cover like that, and you change where water could go into the ground and perk in to rooftop roadways and runoff, there is plenty of research out there that shows there's a concomitant degradation in water quality. The May River experienced that as well. We were told in 2007 by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control that at the shellfish monitoring stations in the headwaters of the May River, remember the most environmentally sensitive where something just stays and sloshes back and forth for a long time, fecal coliform bacteria were increasing. We're all done with breakfast, so it's okay to say that now, right? Fecal coliform is exactly what you think it is. It comes from poo, but it's everywhere. You really don't want to know, like, it's everywhere. It's a ubiquitous bacteria. In and of itself, not all fecal bacteria is, well, clearly it's not all made the same, but it's not all equal. It's not all equal in the risk, the public health risk that it poses. The reason DHEC is looking for this bacteria is because of the interstate shellfish sanitation sales. And so if Councilman Schumer were to sell shellfish across state lines and somebody gets ill from eating it, they need to be able to trace it back. And so to protect somebody eating a raw oyster, that's what DHEC is looking for out here. And it's not the fecals that they're really concerned about. Fecals are a cheap, easy indicator bacteria for potentially pathogenic viruses that can kill you. This is serious business. So in 2 years, from 07 telling us they were going up to 09, we lost a third. You can see on the inset map, we lost a third of the May River to shellfish harvesting commercially, right? Because Councilman Toomer owns the commercial rights up here. As of 2020, we are still on the state list of impaired water bodies, the 303D list. Just to give you an idea of how common this type of issue is in South Carolina. Across the entire state, there are over 1,000 sites that are impaired. Some of those sites have multiple impairments for different things, not just fecal coliform. Other things, recreational contact and all that kind of thing. Of the 1,200 total impairments in the state, there are 116 bacterial impairments in shellfish waters. So where DHEC is monitoring, there are 116 of these types of impairments throughout the coastal area. So this is a challenge we're facing that comes along with development. Here's another different type of challenge that comes along with development. Sea level rise is a given. It is happening. We're experiencing it. We are seeing changes in weather from a stormwater perspective with our rain bombs and when our weather systems come in and they sit and they become stationary. What we're also seeing, and thank goodness we've had a break. It's not over. It ain't over till it's over. But thank goodness we've had a break for the last 2 years, at least locally, on tropical systems. But man, we all know we got hit, bam, 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 after having not been hit in over 100 years, right? What's interesting is, so here's the oyster factory, here's the entranceway, here's the water. The water is up over the entrance. Here's Daddy's Girl. The water should be back here by the boat, right? This one, I think, was Matthew. This one, we had more flooding in Bluffton from Florence, right? This is a Buford shrimp boat tied down to the public dock at Calhoun Street, which looks so much different and better now thanks to our CIP program. But anyhow, you know this is the walkway, and you can see that the gangplank is super elevated. That's how high the tide was. This gentleman is having a grand time going through floodwaters, which is always a horrible idea. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but always a horrible idea. This is down in Alljoy. All right, no wave sign. It is funny, except for that entire area is serviced by septic systems. This guy is literally bicycling through crap. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. I hope he took a shower. He probably couldn't, though, you know? All right, so we set all of this up. These are the challenges the town is facing. This is, as a community, the challenges we're facing. Increased population density and the public health implications of that. Not only from a shellfish perspective, but, you know, from these rain events and what we're dealing with. Flooding, as well as contact with potentially polluted water, right? More runoff because of more impervious surface. We need to change what we're doing as far as stormwater management. That increases flooding potential. That's health risk safety, water quality degradation. What does that do? That definitely impacts Councilman Schumer and people who do ecotourism, people who fish, recreational fishery as well as commercial fishery. We're talking about a decreased quality of life. What have we done? We've come full circle to that first slide I gave you about the focus areas for the strategic plan for the town of Bluffton. When I told you, I think the May River is pivotal in all of this, I wasn't actually lying. I really think it is. So what was the response? There was a big outcry when the May River, that third section, shut down, and it was a year-long planning process, and we came up with the May River Watershed Action Plan. And what's really important about this is that it had a parallel approach where we can't keep doing the things we're doing the way we're doing them and expect something different to result, right? So we need to plan differently. And for the things that have happened before we know what we know now, we need to go back and try to fix it somehow. So it's an engineering and planning-based approach. And the thing that I pride myself most on within my division that has been my direct reports for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, is implementing adaptive management, evidence-based adaptive management, right? You develop a plan like the May River Watershed Action Plan, you implement your plan, you actually measure and evaluate it, and sometimes government is good at the evaluation part, and then you get a study and it goes on a shelf, right? Then you make those changes and you implement again. This doesn't happen everywhere, and we're good at it in the town of Bluffton and what we do for resource management. So the data we collected on water quality, if we have fecal coliform bacteria in the May River, where's it coming from and how is it getting there? It didn't magically appear. It's got to be coming from the drainages coming into the river. So we set up a partnership with the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, to start testing all these different drainages for high concentrations of fecal coliform bacteria. And we took that data and we made decisions with it, and saying in our original May River Watershed Action Plan, every single one of these project locations that is indicated by a circle was based upon the data we collected that said that had high bacterial counts. Maybe if we do something, a best management practice there, we might be able to knock that number down and bring the river back into compliance for shellfish harvesting. That's what we want, right? So one of the plan areas, project areas in the plan was in here. Totally wild area on the entranceway into Palmetto Bluff, super high fecal coliform counts, bacteria. There's no septic systems nearby, there's no runoff, there's no impervious surface, there's no development, so it's bacteria from wildlife. So we got a grant, and we put in a $300,000 pond with grant money, this little pond right here. So there was a drainage ditch that came down that was high. We grabbed the water that was coming from the north in, put it into the pond. The pond went counterclockwise, like a kidney, that way, and came back out to that little red square on the bottom. So they were side by side. It went in, circled around, came out, went down the ditch. We had another measuring point here, went under the road into Palmetto Bluff, next to the old entrance into Palmetto Bluff. This is the end of the May River right here, by the way. So Stony Creek's up there. This is the duck pond as you go into Palmetto Bluff. And this is Palmetto Bluff Road, old Palmetto Bluff Road. 1,320 feet difference. That's it, not very far. We did the sampling afterward. We were super happy. From when the water went into the pond to when we measured out of the pond, there was a 97% removal efficiency rate. 97%. We were like, we got it. And then we measured downstream to ensure that we were having the impact that we wanted. And lo and behold, when we asked our friends out at USCB to run the stats for us, there was no statistically significant impact for a $300,000 project in improving water quality in the May River downstream. So, yeah, think about that for a second. Now, as government employees, that is not good use of public money to continue with projects, and most of the May River Watershed Action Plan original projects were based on ponds because the data we had at the time told us ponds worked and worked well. And ponds do work well for knocking down fecal coliform bacteria. They do, if properly managed. However, we're still not getting the result downstream. So tell me, should I go spend tens of millions of dollars making ponds everywhere when we have evidence that something else is going on? And so using that data, we made new decisions to start microbial source tracking. And when I told you, and you know it, not all poo is made the same and not all poo carries equal risk, the highest risk is human septic systems, right? So when we started testing for human trends of DNA, the bigger the dot, the more we've tested, the darker the dot, the more times we've tested that it has been positive for human markers. You can see in the headwaters, we have a lot of evidence of human bacteria that has been in our testing results. The other thing that's important is that it has also been located and detected at the DHEC shellfish monitoring sites. So when you have this kind of information, and notice in the historic district of Bluffton, we also have positive hits. Waterfront. The older areas of Bluffton, right on the waterfront, are still on septic systems and not sanitary sewer. So we switched gears, and I know I'm running out of time. I'm gonna have to come back. This is gonna be like stage one. Have me come back and I'll do stage two, because we're just not going to get to it. We switch gears. If we're still trying to figure out what this is, what else did the action plan tell us to do? There are a number of policies that it told us we should be looking at. Some of it is stormwater volume control. Not from a flooding perspective, but if you've had Al come and talk to you, he's told you that fresh water in these high saltwater systems is toxic. It could be drinking water, and in fact, we've done the studies with BJWSA for drinking water quality that went into the May River, and it has an impact. We were looking from a bacterial standpoint, but it has an impact downstream because these are critters that are meant to live in salt water. It's toxic, it's a pollutant for them. So water quality, volume control. Establishing a policy that allows us to transfer development rights. So if we know in certain areas of the watershed it cannot assimilate growth as well as others, hopefully we start that was my personal opinion, by development rights and or work through these development agreements to get them transferred to areas where it can be better assimilated. Really working and focusing on sewer connection and extension. If we know we've got human waste out there and it carries the highest public health risk, we need to do something about it. And also increasing our stormwater fee. We finally increased it, I think after 10 years. It had been over 10 years since it had been increased. And that was able to leverage a $5.25 million general obligation bond for us to expedite some of these projects moving forward for sewering. Programs. We have a number of programs that were established and have been ongoing, including septic system and maintenance within the town's jurisdiction, because clearly it's going to take a while for us to get sewer to folks in the town. We don't own or operate it. We have to do it in partnership with BJWSA in the town. Again, one of the TDR successes was preventing 146 acres of impervious surface in the headwaters of the May back in 2012, moving 1,300 residential units out. Moving forward with microbial source tracking, moving forward and putting into our 5-year capital plan a conversion of septic to sewer, and making sure that every capital project we implement has stormwater features to it. Now they have to a certain degree, but what can we do above and beyond to help treat and capture and keep stormwater on site so that we're not creating runoff? Projects that are underway and completion, especially from a sewering perspective, you can see what we've done there. Currently we have, in the historic district, these are the areas where we're sewering right now. So phase 1 is along Pritchard Street, worked on phase 2, and it looks like with that GeoBond we'll be able to package these together and move forward. Projects that are underway for water quality, we've been really fortunate and have established a great relationship with the funding arm of DHEC. We've had over $1.5 million awarded to do a number of different types of projects. We've had 5 different types awarded, and we'll keep moving forward. So I'm going to leave it at this, and there is more to say. And an adaptive management approach, great. So we did a project, we learned from that, we moved to policies, we're implementing those, and we're assessing those. The action plan was adopted in 2011. We've been working that plan for 10 years. You need to go back and assess it, right, as a whole, in its entirety. And we did that last year. The key next steps for the action plan update was to take a look at our current conditions from the work Dr. Eric Monty did for us as he sat on our May River Watershed Action Plan Advisory Committee. Dr. Monty's work showed us that despite the efforts we have been implementing, there is a statistically significant increasing trend of fecal coliform bacteria at the majority of the DHEC sites in the May River. What that means is what we're doing is not enough. That gives me the backing, the evidence I need to say we need to change things, right? Now, maybe the curve was flattened a little bit. It could have been like this, but still, we don't want it increasing. We want it flat or we want it decreasing in certain areas. We know we can treat stormwater better. The town just passed, and Beaufort County has passed it as well, the new regional stormwater ordinance, which is based on better site design and working with nature. My background's biology and ecology. In my opinion, we should have been doing that to begin with, but again, that's Kim's opinion as a biologist. And then also, again, taking a look at what can we do out of modeling to knock down these bacteria numbers and target areas from, based on our testing data, modeling different scenarios of what if we reduce the bacteria count by this much, this much, this much, would it bring us into compliance for shellfish harvesting. So I know I threw a lot of information at you. You are like 8:29. And I know there's a hard stop at 8:30. I am happy to come back another day and talk about what the action plan update said and or anything else if there's a particular project or topic that we've been working on at the town. It would be my pleasure to come back and share with you because y'all are our ambassadors to share the news. What you do in your backyard matters. It ends up either in the Ocoee and the Colleton, the New River, or the May River if you live in this area. It matters. Your voice matters. Get involved. Make your opinions heard. Protect what you love, right? Protect what brought you here. And with that, I'm happy to hang out and talk to anybody who might want to, but I'm gonna, before I get the hook, I'm gonna step aside.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Kim's gonna hang out in the corner here for
Yes.
Q&A. Does anyone else have anything for